Now it's time for our weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, President of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All yours, Dan.
Well, thanks once again, Teresa, and another very interesting week. We've just passed the May 2-4 weekend, and we did see, in fact, prices go up, not just on the wholesale side, that is to say, on the rack side or on the refinery side, as a result of especially in the U.S., lower output, lower production, and slightly higher demand. But this week we're heading into the Memorial Day long weekend, and in the United States, which is always the official or the unofficial kickoff of the summer driving season. It doesn't look to be as strong as it was last year. It looks to be muted somewhat, given all the uncertainty that is being churned up over the global economic situation, as well as, let's face it, the Trump tariffs are not helping. But that could mean a bit of a boon for consumers in the long run. We've seen last weekend throughout the May 2-4, Friday to Monday experiment where gas prices remained relatively high. That is to say, gas stations didn't trade away their 7-8 cent retail margins as they always do traditionally. They're probably going to get back to doing a little bit more of that this week, but it looks like the days of what I call gas bar shenanigans may be coming to a temporary halt. I often make predictions in the morning, as I have done for 25, 30 years, but in the evening, those tend to be down by 5 or 6 or even 8 cents a liter. And that's because gas stations have a tradition of throwing away their operating margin by the afternoon, given that they sell so much coffee, donuts, beef jerky, car wash, whatever. And that tends to offset some of the losses they might otherwise occur. So they often sell gasoline in the evenings, certainly past 6 o'clock at the price at which they're buying it. And by the way, even though there is this change on the weekend, I suspect they're going to get back to their old habits, and they can probably make a bit of a gain on the volume side with respects to selling more or getting better discounts on their gasoline from the supplier if they continue to increase their volumes. So, I think in that kind of context, it's really important that in major cities across Canada, except for Atlantic Canada, where of course you're told what price you have to pay, you should wait until 6 p.m. in the evening to buy your fuel as a precaution. Now, of course, the United States is going to see a bit of an increase in prices as we head towards this weekend, although not a lot, given that I suspect Donald Trump made comments about potentially putting tariffs on Apple if they don't bring more jobs back into America from China, and of course, starting a spat with the European zone. Now, nothing says push down the price of commodities more than creating a potential risk. And by these kind of statements, usually they're followed up with little or no action, but sometimes they are. Markets are really in that position of panicking and responding. Full disclosure, Teresa, I worked at Gas Buddy for 5, 6 years. Most of my interviews were with American media. And the first Trump term from 2016 to 2020, especially in the first couple of years, every time he would do something, gas prices would go up or down almost on a daily basis. So there's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump is trying to achieve something else other than simply, engaging in a trade war. He also is managing by these kind of circumstances to ensure that prices for gasoline don't go up on the long weekend, and maybe also signaling of trying to do indirectly that which he cannot do directly with the U.S. Fed. And that's to create economic uncertainty to, as it were, force the Fed to drop interest rates, which I think is, after all, his real game. That's not something I've been talking about since November. It's also something I think has been clarified, certainly in the month of April, when Wall Street came out with a very similar opinion. Not to say I was the first, but my intelligence is usually very early distant warning, and that's one of the things I can tell you about the Donald Trump administration 2.0. A very similar response to what we saw back 5, 6 years ago. By 2018 and 2019, by the way, we began to ignore what he had to say because it really wasn't relevant. Nevertheless, I'll leave that to the side to know that that could have some impact. Although not the volatility we're seeing now is not really the result of Donald Trump as much as it is fundamentals. Demand being a little on the slow side in the United States and supply being a little low as well, has oil range bound between $61 a barrel WTI to about 65. That means the gas prices are probably going to remain where they are at least until the July 1st Canada Day long weekend, as we get better clarity in terms of which way we're going to be seeing prices in Canada go. In the meantime, we also have reports from our our own environment department that doesn't have much concern about hurricanes unless they come up at some point, as they did in 1954 with Hurricane Hazel, or maybe that was 52, and what we see in Atlantic provinces. But it looks like a warmer Gulf region, a warmer Atlantic basin is likely not to lead to major hurricane disruption this summer. So that could be very good for our pocketbooks in the sense we won't see major hurricanes like we saw Dorian back in 2019 and a few others not only impact coastal facilities in the United States, but also damage the infrastructure that produces and distributes energy. And therefore, we may not see these quick hits in terms of prices rising for a week or two in response to the shutdown of the system. All that is to say that the prices that we're paying today is pretty much what we can expect to pay over the next week or so. I'm not seeing a lot of change going into this weekend. If anything, it might actually drop. So whether you're in British Columbia, whether you are in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and even the Maritimes, don't expect much, maybe a small decrease in diesel prices of 1-2 cents a liter as it looks for the next 7 days. Steady as she goes, the price you see is continuing to be the price that you will continue to pay. That's it for this weekend, Teresa. This weekend, Teresa. We'll see you next week and bring you a greater update as we get closer to those dog days of summer.